Um, but I've seen your stuff on Instagram, man. I started following you whenever it was, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, I think it was, maybe a month ago.
Yeah.
And so you got some good stuff on there. So I know we're going to get into a good conversation. But yeah, so if you want to introduce yourself and just kind of say who you are, anything you want to share, and then we'll dive in.
My own journey of healing and wellness and overcoming many barriers, which I'm sure we'll talk about kind of later on. I discovered fitness, and it really changed my life. And I have a different approach to personal training that is, and I say I am not advocating for fitness because I truly believe fitness gets a lot of advocacy. It's one of the many shoulds that keep people awake at night. People know why, they know they should. I am here to advocate people back to fitness because somewhere along the way we seem to have lost it. In the growing momentum of the fitness industry, we're leaving people behind. And that's where my spiritual life coaching comes in. It's where my spirituality comes in, because I don't just know this exists. I feel it. I feel it from them. They feel left behind. So I'm here. I can't change it. I can't change, the fitness industry. I can't slow it down, but I can hold space for the people who I resonate with. So to narrow it down, that's what I do.
All right. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Excel Coaching Academy. Hey guys, I'm really excited to let you know that I started a mindset coaching business. So what I want to do with this business is I want to help entrepreneurs, business owners, salespeople, leaders, and fitness enthusiasts or athletes develop the right mindset to increase revenue, improve business or performance, and overcome the challenges needed to become the best version of themselves. You can get more information about this by emailing info@excelcoaching.academy. What do you mean people are left behind? What do you mean by that?
So there's many people who, and I was one of them. And I still am, even as a personal trainer. So there are people out there who don't see themselves in what's being portrayed when it comes to fitness. So what they're seeing on social media, advertising, things like that. They just don't see themselves. They're scared to start. They feel like, it's beyond themselves. They feel like it's a luxury, when really fitness is us. It's within us. We have everything that we need, but with how it's being portrayed out there, it feels like it's, when people close their eyes and they imagine fitness, they think of things like the gym. They think of weights. They think of, this influencer that pops into their mind. What they picture isn't actually them. And I want them to realize that it is within them. Everybody has the right for fitness. And, and what is fitness? And to me, fitness is feeling sound in your body. Fitness isn't getting jacked. Fitness isn't going to extremes. Fitness isn't counting macros. It is feeling sound and in harmony in your body and in your environment, by my definition.
I love that, man. So I've talked to a lot of personal trainers and coaches and stuff, and I think you're the first person that's ever said that definition of fitness. And the reason I like that is because when I refer to fitness, I'm not in the, it's not as spiritual for me, but it's like, I think there's different levels of fitness. Like you have physical fitness, but you also have emotional and mental fitness. You have like, you can be, you hear like the mind is a muscle. I feel like emotions are a muscle. The more you exercise your emotions or experience different things, you become stronger in those things. But I love your definition of it, because it's the first time I'm hearing this way from a person who's in that space. And so I really appreciate that, because I think there's, I think you're right. I think when people, if they're not in that space, when they imagine or hear the word fitness, they think of a specific thing. And, I mean, that's, I don't know. I think that's dangerous for a lot of different reasons. I think, first of all, like you hear about, like not everybody has the body type to run. I don't know if I had the body type to run. Like, I don't like, running on a treadmill or whatever. It's just not me. I'd rather do the elliptical or the stairs or martial arts or some other kind of, cardio. It's just not my thing. But I think I guess it would be the self-awareness for what fitness is. I think that's really important. And so I think this is actually a really good place to start, I feel like.
And really, it's not about changing who you are or changing habits. It's not like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't like running. So why would you go start running? Why? Because you think you should? You don't have to. There's other ways to
Yeah.
do cardio that maybe you enjoy more. It isn't about changing who you are. It's honoring who you are and meeting you where you're at.
Mm.
Your fitness can evolve with you. We don't need to dive into the extremes or to do something because we feel like we should because someone else is or follow this trend online. Why shouldn't fitness honor who you are? And that's where listening to people, and when I talk to people, listening to what brings them joy in their life and sprinkling aspects of who they are into their programming. I don't like calling it programming, but as a personal trainer, we program. Me as a spiritual life coach, I hate the word because we can't be programmed. We're not robots. We're multidimensional. What feels good for me right now in this season may not feel good for me a year from now because of a whole other host of things that could change. So it's meeting people where they're at. And that's where I work as a guide to get them started. Whether I'm a bridge to something else, whether they just need to see what their body is capable of for them to have the courage to then start running or to join that CrossFit class with their friend that they haven't done because they feel like they're not going to fit in or they feel like they're going to be judged or they don't trust their body. That's a whole nother thing that we can go into. But so whether I'm a bridge so then they can see what they're capable of, connect with their body, trust their body, so then they can go on to do those things that maybe they've been holding back on, whatever
Mm.
it might be. And I start with people. People find they hire me as a personal trainer because there's something in their body that's screaming the loudest. So they contact me as their personal trainer, and it starts off, like you, I'm watching them, I'm helping them, I'm guiding through these exercises, and then what it turns into over time. And I just had this last night where I'm standing there watching this member connect to their body, execute these exercises flawlessly. And what I'm watching, and I'm not just watching the exercises, I'm watching and I can feel the moment that these people connect with their body, where all of a sudden everything is working in harmony. Their mind has shut up from whatever it was talking about before they came into the gym. That shut off. And then all of a sudden, it's like you're in this meditation, where you're engaged just with something. It's comfortable, it's repetitive, you feel really good, the energy is moving around your body, and then they leave just feeling transformed, if you will.
Yeah. Well, I think fitness is I think it's an incredible way to like prove yourself to yourself and like strengthen that connection with yourself. I mean, it's crazy. Like I've talked to a couple dating coaches on the podcast, and one person specifically mentioned that you have a relationship with yourself just like you have a relationship with other people. And I never thought about a relationship with myself. Like that sounds kind of odd to say, but when you think about it, it's like, yeah, you do have a relationship with yourself. And I think the the approach that you're kind of taking from this is like a lot of us a lot of people in the fitness space have that relationship with themselves, but it's almost like a tyrannical relationship. Like they just beat themselves up, whether it's through fitness or through guilt or whatever. I mean, let me just go off on a tangent just real quick. There's like the whole discipline culture and the motivation culture. I believe in that and I preach discipline, the importance of discipline, but I think it comes to a point where when you are your own worst enemy, it's doing more harm than good. For example, I know a person right now who is one of the biggest performers in their company, and they feel that they're not doing enough. Now, I mean, enough is relative to the person. Maybe you should. I can't tell you what you should be doing, but what I am saying is you should acknowledge where you're at, and that one day there was a day that you started that you were nowhere near where you're at, and where you are now is something that you used to aspire to be. So you should give yourself some credit for that. I can't tell you what's right or wrong as far as what you should pursue or not pursue or how far you should go with it. But the fitness thing, what I love about what you're saying is there's this connection with yourself. And man, when I started working out in 2020 was like my real fit. I started in 19. I tried to do too much. 2019, I tried to do too much. I kind of got injured and just like quit basically. And then the following year, after the first of the year, January 2020, I started again. And once I started that, like looking back over it, my business really improved from that. And I think there's several different reasons for that. But I think one of the ones is because it's like keeping that program with yourself is a really good way to prove yourself to yourself. Like, and just even understanding yourself. I don't think a lot of us understand our like physical and mental bodies. We just don't, like you said, we don't understand what we're capable of. But I mean, that's a really good way to prove it. Yeah, yeah.
Of who we are, and and usually, and then the body starts talking, and that's when I see people for their initial conversation, is because their body is crying out in some way. So then my skill set is to kind of decode some of the messages that their body is sending them to to maybe other aspects of their life. Like, there was this, one of my members was having chronic joint pain and inflammation. And upon getting to know her in further discussion, there was she would put up obstacles in her life. Like, there was a lot of anxiety happening around scenarios that were created up here. And then her joints would become inflamed. But of course, she was taking all the approaches of anti-inflammatory diet, doing all the things that she felt like she should be doing. But then after some discussion and after kind of coaching through some other areas, she realized, what if I just approach things with ease? So the theme that I received for her, and when I plan stuff for members, they're in my awareness, and I often get messages about their body or themes that come in. And my theme for her was moving through life with ease. So just how she kind of just, like, we approach exercises, and as personal trainers, we put RPEs on them, rate of perceived exertion, like a 1 to 10. So then I suggested, well, what if you started doing that on areas of your life where right now, like that work meeting is like a 10 out of 10 on an RPE scale. What if you just, like, what exercises are hard too, but we approach them differently. We modify them. It's the same exercise, but we can modify them, and progress them over time. So what if these
Right.
areas in your life, you kind of modified them, approached them differently with a different mindset, and then all of a sudden the RPE was like a 4 or 5 or 6, and that worked really well for her. And all of a sudden that joint inflammation started to go away.
Hmm.
So I see a lot of people, so there's messages in their body, a lot of conversations that come up where they're disconnected and one of my questions that I ask people is like, Cody, tell me who you are. They don't know. They don't have an answer for me. We seem to have lost that. And again, I was there too. You lose touch of who you are. We get, we get all excited about these new things and trends and things that we should be doing because they seem right. But when you actually, kind of dive in a little bit deeper, remember the things that make you happy. Move in a way that feels good for your body. You start to remember who you are again. And this is where that relationship with ourself comes in. I see people at the beginning, they don't even want to look at themselves in the mirror when they're working out. Why would they want to? This person that's looking back has bullied them for a really long time. The way we treat ourselves, the way we treat our bodies, we wouldn't treat our worst enemy like that. So why is it okay for us to do that to ourselves? So then when people start feeling better, their body starts moving in a way that they didn't think that their body could do. They start to appreciate themselves more. They start to love themselves a little bit more.
Hmm.
And this trickles into other aspects of their life. And I can't, what happened for me in my own fitness journey, it would happen differently for you. It happens differently for the other members. So, I encourage my members too, when they get to that stage of readiness, to kind of, to share their experience, albeit anonymously, like just to share because I experience something different. They experience something different depending on, what our journey is. They're all unique. And it often doesn't take long where and I can see it when it happens, when these people look in the mirror and all of a sudden they smile, or a tear wells up because they are so proud of themselves and they have a new respect for themselves. We knew it was there all along. We knew it was there. The child inside of us that, that didn't talk mean to ourselves is still in there. And when they remember that, it is just the most magical thing. It is better than any personal record. It's better than any, achievement on the scale. It is that moment that changes the rest of their life and has impact.
Yeah. And I love how you put that, man. That's why I say that self-confidence is really built when you prove yourself to yourself that way. So and another thing too is I think that I believe in opposites in the universe. I think if one thing exists somewhere in the universe, its opposite has to exist. I just think that that's how the world works. And so if you yourself can be your own worst enemy, then that also means you can be your own best friend. But it's just like how what you do and which path you take to be that person to yourself. I think is really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for me personally, fitness was definitely a way that I built that connection with myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, before that, like, as a teenager and all that stuff, kid and everything, I didn't really have that sense of, where I could trust myself or like listen to myself. So my journey was I had to prove myself to myself, and I did that through different avenues, fitness being one. But I think that when you say you were talking about a person looking in the mirror and that person bullying them, I think that's a really good way to get somebody's attention and like say just kind of step back from this and just kind of be aware of how you're treating yourself. Because you're right. A lot of us, the things that we say to ourselves sometimes we would never say to another person, or shouldn't say to another person, shouldn't say it to ourselves. But I just think that just like because you can be your own worst enemy, I think you also simultaneously have the option to be your own best friend.
We can.
Yeah.
And it's in the way we treat our bodies too. This body, is the vehicle of our spirit, our soul, our true essence. But people think their bodies are dumb. They will find every reason for an ailment. What if your body's just sending you a message? It's sending you a message. It doesn't speak the same language that you're used to. So sometimes it takes a bit of detective work to figure it out. But, our bodies are taking us through this life, and calling it dumb, not trusting it, being scared of it, that it's going to let you down. It's we owe our bodies more than that. They're not just these dense structures. They represent who we are. Bodies fascinate me, Cody. Like, truly fascinate me. And how magical they are and how beautiful they are. Every body type. And I want to celebrate that. And I want people to see themselves and what's being portrayed in moving their bodies. All body types. Everybody, because everybody is so magical, so capable. And I think that if your movements or your wellness is sprinkled with aspects of who you are, it can be really sustainable, very achievable, and very enjoyable.
Mm. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that identity one, man, is really, really powerful. And I think there's a lot of people like a lot of us struggle with that, identity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the reasons is because I think we do lack that ability to trust that inner voice. I talk about this a lot, the inner voice, the intuition. And I think that's why when somebody, if you ask somebody, who are you, they may not know how to respond because they've probably, I don't know if they've ever asked themselves that or not, probably not. But it's like, how do you assert who you are when the voice that tells you who you are is one that you can't really trust? You're like, I mean, and we could talk all day about where intuition comes from and all that, but it's like, I think if we had that strong sense of identity, who we were, who we saw ourselves as, and if we were grounded in that, I think that would show us, it would definitely show us core values, core beliefs. It would definitely show us what we value and what we believe about the world, about ourselves. But I think that also provides us it's like a compass, it's like a sense of, it's like a tool that we can use in our direction of life, if that makes sense.
We as humans love direction. love direction. We really do. We really do. We want to know what we want. We always want to know, what's ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, yeah, trusting yourself and knowing that you're always supported, you're always guided, you're protected. I told myself that, and I still do often, going through this when I felt, when I felt the opposite of all those things, but that's what I was believing. So then it was time for me to believe something different. So I would tell myself every day before bed, you're guided, you're supported, you're protected, you're loved. And then that's what I believe. And then now I'm at the point, and I'm human and I have days where I struggle. Of course I do. But I feel now, that in harmony between my mind, body, and spirit, that, the things that, like, it's just so solid that the things that, just like when I eat things that don't sit well in my body, I'm really aware of with my environment as well. Energies that don't align, and again, I'm always kind about these things, but I'm very aware when things don't feel right, because I've got that relationship with my whole being,
Right.
my whole being. So I can really, those things that nourish me through thoughts, emotions, environment, people, food.
Yeah.
I know what feels good, and I'm really aware of what doesn't.
Yeah.
And once you
Man,
get to know yourself,
it's
you'll realize
crazy. Like, it's crazy that you're saying these things, because we've never had this conversation before. We've never talked about this, but like the things that you're telling me are like things that I've actually experienced in my fitness journey. Like I said, when I started a consistent workout program, that's when I really noticed an improvement in my business. But one of the reasons is you talk about this environment, like this energy that's not around you or that is around you. Like, it's very easy. I think a lot of people understand diet is important, like when it comes to health and fitness. But when we talk about like going on a diet, if we start a fitness plan or something, uh, you also have a mental and energetic diet. You have a diet like with the things that surround you. Because, I'm sure you know this, it's very common for a person to start a fitness plan or some sort of journey, and they'll eliminate things like alcohol, or maybe at the very least, cut it down. They'll eliminate the diet. But then that means if they're eliminating alcohol, they're probably not going to be in environments where alcohol is served so much, bars or whatever it is. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with bars. I'm just saying the energy in those places sometimes are not conducive to our improvement as, becoming better people or better versions of ourselves. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but I'm saying being in that environment sometimes is not a healthy place. Being in an environment where we are criticized by people who are maybe close to us, or maybe like, should be close to us. I mean, you just start to filter all these things out in your environment. The energies you consume, you start to filter like what you see on TV, what you see on social media, and it just becomes the diet is basically just a filter of everything that's around you. And it's an energetic filter. I mean, like I said, food is a good way. I think we all understand, or at least we know the importance of eating the right things, but it's like, what are you also consuming around you energetically? The
yeah,
people that you
yeah,
have around you, the information,
yeah. And you hear the people doing these radical things, cleanses and things like that. Well, what if we simply cleanse the things in our environment too?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
so, whether that's putting up barriers and things too. And again, all of that can exist with kindness. And they always should. I'm a huge advocate of compassion and
Oh yeah.
kindness, but protecting yourself as well. So, and then you
Mm-hmm.
start to notice when you do that. And when people, and I was talking to one of my members the other day, and he was just like, he's been with, like, we're in like week 7, I think, since we started. And so much has changed generally for him. Like of course, he's having physical changes, of course, but all these things are changing. And at first, because things were happening so fast, he almost was, not almost, he was having like imposter syndrome,
Mm.
because it was like he went to go play hockey and his body felt different. Like it was just, and it's seemingly very, very fast, that he was almost like, again, but his mind was still chattering at this point where it was like, you're not worthy of this, it's going to come to an end. Like all of these things, that has since quieted down. But because when he reached out to me, he knew he wanted something to change, that something needed to change. And when you decide that, Watch what happens. Pay attention to what happens in the rest of your life as well. Changes start to happen. Some of them, come these good things, we don't always see as good right away. They come in disguise, and they can be ailments in our body, illness, things like that, or relationships that come to an end. They seem really disruptive in our life, but watch what happens after. It's not everything comes packed in a nice little bow that is a gift for you. It's going to come in all different shapes and sizes, and it's going to feel really disruptive at times. But if you can stick through it, trust your intuition, trust yourself, you'd be amazed at what will happen.
You mentioned imposter syndrome, and that's a really unique, or not unique. That's a really interesting thing, man, because I think by the nature of it, it makes us feel like we're doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly think if we don't feel imposter syndrome, if we're trying to do a thing, if we don't feel that, then just me personally, maybe we're not trying a big enough goal or a big enough thing. I feel like that's one of the things that's indicative of us, being on the right path. Because if not, if you don't feel imposter syndrome, what does that mean? Does that mean you're doing something that you're comfortable with? Okay, well, are you going to really grow in comfort? Maybe not, but it's crazy. Like, you talk about this identity, man, and this is one of the reasons that identity is so important, because if you feel that, we're talking about fitness here, but it can be career or business also. If you feel that you're not the person for that, then all that's showing you is that you have the growth to become that person. Like, I think, and we talk about intuition and all this stuff, I think, like, I don't think we realize the power of like a goal or a dream or something that comes to us that says, hey, I want to do this with myself or with my body or with my life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, other people have similar goals and dreams to you, but like, I don't think that's accidental, man. That, like, if you are, if you're there and you're not in the gym, or you don't have a fitness plan or whatever, and you have this thing that comes to you and says, man, I really want to have this kind of body. I want to have this connection with myself. Like, that's not accidental. That's not something that should just be disregarded,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's very powerful.
And just because there's other people experiencing similar goals doesn't mean that you're not meant for it. We all have something different to the table. And I struggled with this. when I started getting into fitness, and when I became a personal trainer. And I really followed my intuition on this one. And I really struggled with it, because I was like, why would I want to become a personal trainer when I don't even agree with half or align with half of the stuff that I see, more than half, with the majority of the stuff that I see out there? Why would I want to do this? Well, that is exactly why I'm here. That is exactly why I'm here. And don't get me wrong, and I am an ally of fitness, and there is so much knowledge out there. These trainers have like an insane amount of knowledge. It's just becoming really confusing. And we need to, as coaches, as trainers, as people, remember who we're talking to. Remember who you're talking to. Talk to the person that you were before you started, because those are the people that need us. These are the people that need our help, not who you are now. So we just need to strip the confusing layers away a little bit, so it feels more accessible for people to, take these leaps into fitness, to ask for help, to see themselves, to have the courage to step into a gym, knowing that they're not going to be judged. Yeah. They're not going to be judged for what they're doing.
This is a really
to be welcoming for people, like I would welcome somebody to my home.
Yeah,
that is how I want people to feel when they decide that it's time, that it is their time to take care of their bodies, the body that takes them through this life, the body that represents their true essence, their soul, their spirit. It's time to take care of your body.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put that. I think it's also important too for people to understand that fitness is not a one size fits all. Just because there's there's like 100,000 different ways to do a plan, a program, whatever it is. But but it's like you said it earlier. You have to know what works with your body, like how your body operates. And unfortunately, unless you've experienced with it before, you're not going to really know what that is. So you're going to have to just try different things. But I don't think we should just necessarily try to mimic what somebody else does, because that might not work for you. You know,
No.
I say this a lot with like the 5 a.m. thing. You know, you hear the average millionaire wakes up at 5 a.m. Listen, if I wake up at 5 a.m., I'm not getting anything done for about 4 hours. Like I can't do that. I'll be the guy that works at midnight,
Yeah.
you know, but I'm not waking up. I can't wake up at 5 a.m. and be productive. I just can't do it.
And you know yourself. You know, there's a million ways to get to a result that works for you. You got to meet yourself where you're at. And this is where asking the right questions at the initial conversation and throughout their journey. You know, people sign on to work with me. I'm signing on to work with them because as a spiritual life coach, I am really kind of accepting to take on a bit of heaviness to get them to where they want to be, to where their desired outcome is. So no one's subscribing to Transform Fitness Coaching. It's a relationship. I know who they are. I know their partner's name. I know their kids' names. I know them. And it doesn't have to be one-on-one. You don't have to live in Stratford. We do it like this, virtually. You know, but we communicate regularly. It's really, really important in asking the right questions. Because for me to design an exercise plan for people based on their personal training questionnaire, so, you know, physical goals, pull-ups, whatever, 5, 10 push-ups, you know, body composition goals, stuff like that, you know, you have to ask more questions. And that's where I created some more questions for Transform, because I want to know what they're doing when they're the happiest. What activity are you doing when you're the happiest? And for somebody, it might be playing on the floor with their grandchildren, and they want to do that for as long as possible. Well, you know what? When I'm designing their programs, that's what I'm designing for. I'm not designing it for 10 push-ups. You know, I will take that into account, and we're going to get them there. But to me, you know, this person wants to play on the floor with their grandchildren for as long as possible. This person, you know, their best experience that they've had that they can remember was hiking with their husband, and their eyes welled up with tears because it was such a fabulous experience. That's what we're planning for. More of that.
Yeah, man, that's so powerful. Like that's so powerful. What are you training for? Like, what's the purpose of that? Because I mentioned to you earlier about you know, running. I got invited to do a 3K here in a couple weeks. I might do it. I don't know. I haven't made my mind up yet, but I'm not going to run a marathon. I'm not. Okay. Like, I'm not going to be training to run a marathon. It's just not my thing. You know, like I said, I'll do the elliptical. So whatever movement that would be training for, I don't know. But I train martial arts for cardio. Hopefully I never have to use it, but that's like my cardio. But like, I'm not trying to run a marathon, man. You know, so it's like, what are you training for? And I think when you put it in that perspective, like, oh, you want to play with your grandkids for a lot, you know, that really gets somebody's attention. Like, oh, okay, well, now I know what we're doing here.
I understand. I want people to know that as a personal trainer, I understand our multidimensionality. I'm there too. I don't like running. I wouldn't even run if a bear was chasing me. But you know what? There's other ways I get my cardio that I enjoy. I'm going to go snowshoeing this weekend out in my yard. You know, do I eat perfectly? No. But, you know, eating to me is a really, really important experience. We use all of our senses for it. So I'm not weighing my food. If weighing macros resonates you and where you want to be, then then go explore it. But, you know, I'm not perfect either. I don't like burpees. I don't do them because you know what? There's other ways I could get there. You know, I understand. So when people, so I'm always listening, always observing, and I want to make their exercise fitness experience enjoyable. So then they'll go on and continue to do it, and it'll evolve with them. They'll be doing it till they're like 90. That's what I want for people. And so that so it's designed for the programs or for the things that they love in life. So when they go do those things in life, that it feels even better and they can do it for longer. Because their true spirit really wants that for them. And so does their body, because you know what? It's connected. It's connected. The things we ask our body to do, you know, it's much. It's a lot, you know, and people want it fast.
Yep.
really fast. What is your rush? Like, you're not planning on going anywhere anytime soon. Slow it down. Enjoy the process.
Yep.
Really let it absorb. You know, no one's going anywhere anytime soon. Just enjoy it.
Dude, it's crazy because you can't make this up. You cannot make this up. But the process is also another lesson that I learned from fitness. It's like becoming a fit person. Yes, that's a good goal to have, but that's also like a never ending process. And that's one of the
What
lessons.
does that mean to you? What does
So like,
fit mean to you, Cody?
So for me, that means, all right, so fitness is a process. It's the journey of becoming a fit person, which is the thing. Like you have to maintain that daily or weekly or whatever it is. And so I was able to make the connection to business. I was able to take that in my business and apply it to the same thing. Like, okay, if I'm trying to achieve these goals or make these sales goals or whatever it is, there is a process that comes with that. And so you have to be committed to the process, not committed to the end result. Because if you're committed to the process, I mean, there's so many different things that happen, but one of the things that really happens that this beneficial and valuable is you become the person who can make that goal happen. So if you're dedicated to the process, I'm not saying it's not a good thing to have a goal, but forget the goal for a minute. Don't say I want to be lose X pounds. Say that I want to be a fit person, because a fit person is going to do things like there's things that a person does in that process. Like you do the daily things to achieve that goal. And if you do the daily things, the goal is inevitable. I mean, there's no way you can't get to it. I say all the time, like we don't achieve goals. We become the person who is capable of doing these things. And then we make these things happen because we're that person, you know? But just to close the loop for a second on the longevity thing, you were talking about, playing with your grandkids and stuff. I think that's incredibly important. I think I wish people were more aware of the importance of joints. Like I think joints are absolutely, like we should focus more, I think, on taking care of joints, because we can have great muscles, we can have a great, fit body or whatever, but if you can't move around, man, you can't maintain that long term, So, and there's a lot of things out there that really put stress on joints.
Yeah, and this is where really, careful consideration into phased programming with workouts comes important too. Like when I talked like their phase one, we take all that into consideration, because you're right, the joints are really important. You want to gain structural tolerance around our joints, so then your workouts will evolve in a really comfortably and successful way. But I think, and you're right, in life, in business, in fitness, just about everything, it should evolve with us. You shoot too far and then you try to catch up. You may or may not, you might get burnt out in the process. It's, your nervous system is just wired because it's too much too fast. Let things evolve with you. And that's how, your fitness journey can be too. Letting it evolve with you, meeting you where you're at right now, rather than trying to catch up with it, because that can become unsustainable and unenjoyable, quite frankly.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also too, it's like it puts the focus on something external, this goal, this thing, this losing this amount of weight, whatever it is, it puts the goal outside of you.
So outside of you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like you said earlier about the identity, you are the thing that makes this happen. I mean, it's crazy. Like, I don't want to go off on a tangent here, although maybe I will, because I do want to talk to you about spirituality, and I think this is a good bridge for it. But it's like, man, it's crazy because I told this story one time about, you mentioned the inner child earlier. And I think we all have an inner child that probably needs some attention, or at the very least, we have a prior version of ourself that needs to, maybe that was you yesterday, whatever it is. But it's like we have this previous version of ourself, and then we have who we are in the present, and then we have who we want to be in the future. And the you that it is in the present, you are the bridge between the two that makes the thing happen. I mean, the only thing between the past you and the future you is the you now. So you are the one, the thing happens through you. Like people say, oh, life doesn't happen to me, it happens for me. Like I get all that, but it happens through you is what it really does. It happens through you. So talking about spirituality, we have this spiritual connection, like this thing happens through us. We are the thing that brings this to life, because the process essentially happens through us. But I wanted to bridge into spirituality, because you've mentioned a couple times spiritual life coach. So what do you mean by that?
So I have a unique connection to members. And when we meet and we have our discussions, our initial conversations, and I'm asking these questions and really listening to their responses, feeling their energy, feeling their reactions, I am able to plan not just their workouts, but there's always recommendations for outside of the gym as well that honor who they are. So I am, I'm still, and call it maybe imposter syndrome. I'm struggling with calling myself an intuitive, but really at the end of the day, that is what happens. It is what happens. So I was talking to somebody, in a meeting a couple weeks ago, and she said, if I could make one suggestion, it'd be changing your title, because personal trainer, and I'm proud to be a personal trainer, and I worked really hard to get here. But it's just so much more than that. So that's why I put person-AL, personal trainer, is because I'm really kind of becoming one with the person,
right,
essentially. And listening and decoding to messages, and what I get for people is different. So to put a label on it is really, really hard, because what I get from person to person and what I help them navigate through is so individual and so unique. But I help guide them through life's challenges, really giving them the power to do it themselves. It's just, I am there. I'm there to set the vibe, but it's just asking the right questions, being there for them, helping them kind of see areas like they do with, certain exercises that are a bit challenging, helping them see certain areas that maybe in life could be approached or modified a little bit differently. So I'm just kind of setting the tone. Like any good coach, they're doing it. I'm just there to help give some of the tools. So I have, so I wouldn't, personal trainers, they're sometimes really kind of science-based, evidence-based, I'm very person-based, in my personal training. Is that what I recommend for one person would be so, so different for the next person. And it's just that connection, and I get it with people that I work one-on-one with, and I even get it for this group of people that I represent, the ones that I mentioned at the beginning who feel left behind by the fitness industry. This is why I'm here, and this is why I'm so passionate about what I do, is because intuitively and energetically I know that they're there. And Cody, I can tell you, it is heavy. Like, there are a lot of days that I cry for these people who haven't had their story yet. You talk to personal trainers, you talk to people whose fitness has really influenced their life in one way or another. But Cody, there's all these people out there who haven't got to experience that yet. Like my story, I love talking about it, but it's mine. It's my story. There's all these people who haven't had their story yet. And what might happen is that they hit their version of rock bottom, which I did, before they decide to do something different. If I could just, help you before that happens, that would be a really amazing thing. So, that's kind of, what I'm here to do. It's a difficult thing to describe in words, what I experience with members, but it's really profound. Really profound.
Well, I think that's why it's difficult to describe it, because it's not, you don't use words, you use energetics, you use energy, and there's some things you just can't put into words. But when you're with a person and you work with a person, or you do something that profound, it's something that's felt. I don't think everything has to be described with words. It's like there's a word, there's millions of words, but we don't have to have a word for everything. I think some things are just felt. Like it would be really hard to describe what a very powerful meditation or prayer process would be using the right words, especially
and our
prayer.
perception is so unique, and this is why, like on Transform, like on my social media and stuff, you won't see physical before and afters. Like, I'm very different in how I share messages. I share really inspirational messages that, if one person hears, and even if it doesn't apply to themselves in the fitness aspect, if it gets them through their day or gets them applying to that job that they've been holding back on, just simply gets them through the day. That's why I do them. That's why I do them. It's everyone's journey is different. And it's not to market transform fitness coaching as a personal trainer. I want people to know that there's hope. I want people to trust themselves, that intuition that you were talking about earlier. Trust in that intuition, those messages that you might be receiving.
Mm-hmm.
And there's lots of people that you can talk to help decipher some of these messages that we get. But when you're listening to your heart, being self-aware, aware of your body, aware of your reactions. We're always throwing the term mindful out. I don't like the word because it gives our power to our mind, and it is full. The mind is full. And I think that we just need to place a little bit more attention to our heart. That's where your intuition lies. That's where your true essence lies. And it's not going to let you down, and it's not going to hurt you. It's not going to bully you. So just being really self-aware of your body, your reactions, your environment, and again, how we're nourishing ourselves with thoughts. Transform isn't about transforming bodies. It's about transforming fear into more productive feelings like excitement, drive, determination. It's about transforming the way people speak to themselves, whether in the beginning they believe it or not. It's just little changes in how they communicate with themselves creates a whole different outcome, a whole different experience.
What I really like about this, man, is I think like there's no shortage of physical trainers, like people who are in the gym with people, working with people, just focusing on the physical aspect of it, like the diet and stuff. But what I really like about what you're doing is I think like when in those physical spaces, there's obviously something that's missing in the fitness, in that person's fitness journey, if that's all they're doing is what's in the gym. Because first of all, what happens in the gym is like just a fraction of the journey anyways. There's diet, there's recovery, and then also what we're talking about here, there's the spiritual and mental aspect of it. And I think you're kind of combining that with fitness. And I think that's really what I like about your message, is that you're kind of offering that missing piece to the whole fitness journey, because I think a lot of times for like fitness, physical fitness in the gym can be a good thing. But if you are there 3 hours a day, every day of the week, because you're trying to mask some sort of lack of love for yourself or lack of validation for yourself, that's the opposite of what you're trying to do there. I mean, I don't, I'm not against like people using steroids or whatever, or people just getting like absolutely jacked and the biggest they can get, if that's what you want to do. But it's like, why
They're
are
trying
you
to change their identity?
well, it's like, yeah, it's like we talked about earlier. Like, what are you training for? Why are you doing this? Because most people don't need that level of like, anabolic steroids or whatever. I mean, I understand in very specific situations, replacement of hormones, but I've heard guys in their 20s talk about using testosterone, and I'm like, bro, there's so many different things you can do before you go down that route. Like, it's probably very unlikely that you need that
So
medication or whatever.
physically, some would say that looks fit.
Hmm.
That isn't fitness. That's
Yep.
not being fit. Fit is being sound and connected to your body holistically,
Hmm.
holistically, mind, body, and spirit. And I that doesn't necessarily mean jacked, but to me, like, you could be the true essence of fitness. You could be so proud, and and you'll know when that happens, when there's a level of peace and harmony there, and not just about being jacked. It's connecting, being able to connect your body, connecting to the muscles being moved,
Mm-hmm.
feeling that energy move around your body. That's fitness.
Well, the crazy thing is, man, like when you talk about the medical industry, pharmaceuticals and stuff like that, whenever they do a study on something, they have to do a placebo trial for it, because they know that the mind can alter the body. They know that you can believe a certain thing about your body and it can have an effect on your body. So that has to be accounted for with medications and supplements and stuff like that. And it's like, why would we not take that and translate it into the the gym itself or the fitness itself. Like if we can heal ourselves with our mind, which a lot of people say that we can, why would we not think that the mind is powerful enough to connect emotionally, spiritually, and physically? Like why do we not, are we not aware of that? Because I don't know. I just feel like I know you talked about the mind earlier, but I think it's weird because the mind and the brain are different. You know, like the brain is actually a physical thing. The mind, you can't really. I mean, you can see MRIs and things like that, but you can't really see the mind. But it's just like the physical connection and the mental connection. I think that's where that's where spirituality comes into play. Am I making sense here?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's where everything kind of combines into who we are spiritually. And then I think like spiritually, I think we're connected to other people on a mass scale.
Oh, huge.
Like I don't know. We talk about words. I don't have the words to explain what I'm trying to say right here. Yeah, but I'm trying to make a point of the connection of like all the elements of the, not elements, all the different aspects, I guess, of who we are.
Yeah, there's no accident that you and I are talking right now. There's, everything is connected. It's all been planned. And I wish, I in all industries that we would support each other more. There's a lot of helpers out there. I am all for it. When I see something that I love, that some like another personal trainer posted, I am like their biggest fan. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for doing that. There's not a lot of support, and I know that. And there's this invisible like competition out there that doesn't exist, because I know that everybody that I'm meant to work with will find me. That's all been planned already. That's all been in the cards, and they're going to find me when they're ready. We all bring something different to the table. So just let's cheer each other on and encourage, just new ways of maybe communicating with people to to help encourage them and, make them know that they belong. But, it's just, and when I kind of circling back to what you were saying earlier about, the whole, like the physical, the narrowing in on the physical. Mm-hmm. And when I design members' workouts, their program, if you will, it's again a lot of stuff outside of the gym as well. So recommendations outside of the gym, listening to what we talked about and all the things that they love. So their actual strength training component with me, or having to do with me, maybe like 2 days a week, because I don't believe that, unless it's really good for the person in a really unique way. I don't want to live at the gym. I don't think you want to live at the gym. There's so much life out there. So listening to what what I heard them say, if somebody really likes nature, well then, 2 times a week or 3 times a week, going for a walk out in a park or something that's close to their house. I'm not ever asking anybody to go beyond themselves or to anything extreme. Absolutely not. But it has sprinkles of the things that they love to do. So just really kind of incorporating that into their design, so then they feel fulfilled. They didn't feel like they lived at the gym. They felt like that was I feel amazing, and at their 1 month reeval, it's like amazing. They're like, I can't believe that all of this has happened when I've been here like 2 times in a week. But all of this stuff has changed. I'm happier, I'm healthier, and I'm more fulfilled. Mm-hmm. Sleeping better, relationships better. What happens just with these with something, we're just talking fitness here, with something, just that one little step, how that can change into other areas of your life. It's impactful. It's really amazing.
You know what, man? I wish somebody would have told me less is more when I started this thing.
Less is so much more.
Because I'm at the point now where I really try to fit my workout within an hour. I don't, usually it's like between 60 and 70 minutes.
Yeah.
But and that includes a warm up. So it's not like I'm going, full speed the whole time. But I don't know, man. I wish somebody would have told me. There was a point one time where I was working out like 90 plus minutes, each workout. And I'm like, this is not sustainable,
Yeah. And you know what? And ask your body, check in with your body and just because you have this plan in front of you that you're working off of, if you ask your body, you know what, is this what you want today? It may say, you know what, no. What feels good is maybe something a little slower. So then I would suggest what people do is maybe slow down their reps, really slow them down, because especially if your mind is really particularly busy that day, slow your reps down to almost an awkward level. And that helps draw that energy from up here down into the muscle throughout the body. You'll get a really nice outcome, even though you may be able to put out less reps, but you'll get a really nice outcome because, you know, your muscles were under tension longer.
Yeah.
So because you slowed them down. So you might find, like, at the end of it, that was a really great workout and you feel better because you were able to draw that energy down and throughout your body just by slowing it down. The nervous system calms down. It's pretty easy.
I see where you're going with that. When I'm in the gym, I get a tremendous sense of clarity, you know, and I think that is because of the mind body connection. I can't tell you how many times I've been in the gym and really been, you know, puzzled on something, an email to write or whatever it was. And like, I'll go to the gym and I'll just get clarity about, like, this sounds very like grandiose. I understand that, but it's like, it just comes to you. Like, these things just come to you when you're in this space, when you're in that flow space. And I think that's another aspect of like the spiritual aspect of it, you know?
It is essentially like a meditation. You know, it's present. You know, even though when people think meditation, they think of their legs crossed on the floor. You know, that
Right.
I don't meditate like that. My meditation for me is strength training because of that, because of what
Mhm.
you just said. Because now I am able to listen to my body and what it's asking for, and I am able to just clear. So like just being
Mhm.
that stillness, that emptying the mind of thoughts happens when I work out. So then what I receive is amazing during my workout. So that's how I use it now. It isn't how I started, but that is how I use my workouts now. It is by way of meditation. So because
Yeah.
of that connection to my body,
It's
I inhabit my body very much. I am one. When I'm working out, I am one. Mind, body, and spirit.
That's a really good way to put it, because it's like a physical meditation.
Yeah.
And especially if you work out, like, there's just something about being connected to other people. And if you work out in a gym that has people in it, and if you have your music going or whatever it is, and you just look across the gym and everybody is kind of like in this thing in unison. It's just like this environment, like everybody's just working out. Like, that's just, I've been in the gym before and I don't usually listen to music. I listen to like a podcast or some sort of combination of like motivational content or whatever it is. David Goggins in my ear sometimes, but like, you'll hear that, man, and you're like looking around the gym, and it's just like it's like a. I mean, some of these people I've never even talked to, don't know these people, whatever, but it's like a connection to being in that place where everybody's sort of on this same journey. And you
And you're
mentioned,
comfortable in a gym, and that's good. But you could probably understand how some people who maybe aren't,
yeah,
that would really get their nervous system firing
well,
in that type of environment.
and that's what I was going to say earlier. You were talking about these people who kind of go to the gym and they're kind of nervous or whatever. Like, you'll see a lot of times people go to the gym for the first time and they'll stay like on the treadmill, they'll walk for whatever. But like, here's the thing, man. If that's you and you're in that situation, getting in the door is the hardest part, and you should be
Yeah.
proud of yourself for making it into the gym. And
Yeah.
if you go for the first time and that's all that you feel like you can do is walk on the treadmill for 5 minutes and there's a bunch of people around you, you don't know what's going on, you should be proud of that. You should walk for those 5 minutes, get out of there, and then go back the next time. Maybe the next time you do 7 minutes, maybe the time after that you try to do an arm, you know, lift some curls or whatever it is. But it's like, you should be proud of yourself for getting into the door, because I know that's the hardest part for a lot of people.
And that's what I tell people. When you make that decision that you want something different for yourself, you have already started. You've already
Yeah.
started, and you can be very proud of yourself. And that's what I'd love to see on social media is more trainers, like even just simply like showing, and some do, and it's great. I'd love to see more and more and more of it, is setting up machines. So again, remembering who you're talking to. So you might be talking to that person that just went to the gym for the first time and was on the treadmill just observing. If they were seeing some videos on like how to set up, then they could walk in to that gym feeling a bit more empowered. Like, okay, this is how I set up the Smith machine, or this is, and again, we don't need any, I'm really like pro minimal equipment. Again,
Mm-hmm.
keep it simple. Keep it simple. Be proud of what your body can do. Don't fuss over all this equipment. Don't worry about all that. Your body is so capable. Give yourself a couple of dumbbells. You can have an amazing workout. You can have an
Yeah.
amazing workout with no weights. There's so much that your body is designed to do.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't, when humans first evolved, we didn't have Smith machines and this and that and cables. We moved rocks around.
Yeah.
That's essentially what we're doing. So let's go back to, again, trusting your body, knowing what feels good for you, moving your body in a way that feels good, and just keeping it simple, removing those confusing layers so people can feel more empowered, and that they don't feel like they have to go beyond themselves to achieve fitness.
Yeah.
It isn't about the machine. It isn't about the gym. It's in here.
Right. And that's a good point too. You mentioned about people being kind of, a certain physique that we're going for. And there's nothing wrong with that. But not to keep going back to martial arts, but if you look at martial arts, some of the best martial artists are very, it's almost like they're lean, fit people. Like they're not these jack dudes walking around, and they're in tune with their body. Like moving your body in some of these like jujitsu and Muay Thai and stuff. It's incredible the connection that you have with your body, like the way that you're able to move your body. Your body can do more things than you think you're capable of.
It's an
Jujitsu,
art and self-mastery. That's when you've achieved fitness. Really,
yeah.
like when that all comes together like that to me, it isn't about the muscles. It's not how jacked you got.
Right. And there's a flow to it. Is it like there's like a flow to what's moving through your body, and fighting, like martial arts is a very big mental thing. There's a lot of mental that goes into it, like keeping your composure and that kind of stuff. But it's also it also is that connection with your physical body, especially jujitsu, man. Jujitsu is like, I don't know if you know much about jujitsu or not, but it's like the grappling and stuff. It is one of the best workouts you will ever have in your life, but it also it helps you get in tune with your body,
Totally.
And you're talking about, man, presence, like there's not much that's going on when you got a person on top of you and you're trying to roll and do these things like that. Like that is just ultimate presence in that moment.
Yeah. And they keep showing up because you know what? I think it's part of their essence. Like it is a real art. My training facility that I work out of at is attached to a Muay Thai studio, and I love watching them and hearing them and their stories, and they're so passionate. Like they'll after their session, they'll all be just talking about it, and it's beautiful.
But if you notice them, if you ever just watch them train, there might be this is probably how they operate. There's probably one night a week where they go like full intensity or hard or whatever. But most of the time it's just very light. It's very just tapping the other person away. And nothing crazy, like just getting the movement down. That's how a lot of that training is done. Because it's not really sustainable to go full speed every single day. I mean, you shouldn't really do that. I don't go full speed like that. Not at all.
Well,
but
extremes, and even strength training too. I mean, it's the same, it's the same, just again, listening to your body and just, and what feels good, and knowing that, the nervous system is what regulates our entire body. And if we go and jump into these extremes, that it could do the opposite of what you're hoping for. It could increase your cortisol levels, which could, it can be pretty damaging on the body, So it's just really, again, meeting you where you're at and letting, your fitness evolve with you.
Right. Look, man, this has been great. It's been a great conversation. I'm sure we could keep going. I'm not going to hold you up. I'm going to let you get out of here. Do you have social media? I know you said you have social media. You got a website or anything?
Yes, I do. Yeah. www.transformfitnesscoaching.com.
Okay.
Lots of information on there. Instagram at Caren Carnegie Fitness. Facebook, Transform Fitness Coaching.
All right. So, one thing I ask everybody before we close, this can be something from your personal life, if you're comfortable sharing it, or your career. What do you think is one of the most valuable lessons you've ever learned?
is really, it is to just trust yourself, trust the process, as ugly as it seems at times. And that goes for business too. It went in my journey, to get here, and still every day in business, and this too, there are days that are really hard, but you just trust in what's unfolding. And there is so much magic on the other side. And, you don't ever want it to stop. You don't ever want it to stop challenging you. Challenge is good. Challenge is good. It helps us grow. There's opportunities there always. And remember, the gifts don't come in little bows and nice little packages. There's a lot of good when you just trust yourself and trust in what's going on around you. Trust your body. Be nice to your body. I'm having these conversations more and more with people, and just, your body is really beautiful, and it's taken you through this entire life, and will take you to where you want to be. Give it some love, whether you believe it or not. Say thank you to yourself. Thank you to your body.
I love that. It's very empowering, because you are not, I mean, I know this sounds very negative, but at the end of the day, you are all you have. And so if you can't trust you, then what, I mean, you're kind of limited to outside validation or resources or, whatever. But I think, being able to follow that internal compass, I think that's one thing that really leads to fulfillment,
It isn't selfish. We can take care of others so well when we take care of ourselves.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, listen, man, it's been a great conversation. I appreciate your time and insight. I'm going to let you get out of here. If you can hang out for just a second, I'll explain to you about the upload and all that good stuff. But I do appreciate it.
Thanks, Cody.
Hey, guys, I appreciate everybody tuning in today. If you enjoyed this podcast or enjoyed this episode, you can find more at Pure Wisdom Podcast. This is on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Rumble, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple and Google Podcasts. There you can subscribe, like, and share and interact with all of our content. Again, we appreciate it, and we will see you next time.